Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Hester back with another video on improving your gameplay and putting yourself in, better positions to win more gunfights in FPS shooter games. My first one was on centering, so if you have not checked that one out, go ahead and check that one out. And this one, I'm gonna kind of transition off of that. Basically, I want to talk about map movement and how to maneuver around the map. And there's basically three techniques that I like to kind of go over with myself. And I play a lot of search and destroy. I play a lot of ranked, arena, Trials of Osiris, Warzone. So these things are like extra important in those game modes because you only have one life. And so when you have one life, if you play kind of sloppy, you can die right away. And you're just like, oh, if I would have taken half a second just to do something different, I could have stayed alive. So and these tips are kind of like universal when it comes to FPS games, so like Valorant, CS:GO, Rainbow Six Siege, like Warzone, all these types of game modes that are FPS, even like Fortnite, these will like transfer over. So basically, number one tip is move from cover to cover. So if you're trying to get there, basically try to have something around you. So whenever you have a gunfight, so even like here, if I just slide out here, if there's a guy there, we're just gonna have like a one-on-one gunfight. And what he could do is go around behind that car and then slide back out and then shoot me again. So I'm kind of just out in the open and like I can die right away. So one thing is to use this right here as cover. So if I'm weak, and let's say two people, there's a guy here, there's a guy here. If they start shooting me, I'm like, oh, this is a bad, gunfight. I can just slide out. Or as I'm shooting and then another guy slides in, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to strafe. Like as I'm shooting, I'm going to strafe away. So always have some sort of cover. Even the angles you take, instead of going straight down here, try to like slide out and then come from here and use this piece as like cover as you're kind of like coming up. And then when you come up, like, aim and kind of like see, okay, what's the situation, what's going on, is there a guy here, is there a guy there, and then basically if you're coming from this way, instead of just coming straight out and open right here, come kind of like with this thing as your cover. And using this, there's always going to be like a lot of like these cover pieces, I don't know what you want to call them. But it's really important because on your screen, you have so much information. But for them, when they see you, all they can see is like part of your head. So when you're out open right here, they can miss like your shots and they'll still like hit you, But when your head is right there, they have to be accurate. They can't like shoot and go over your head and miss, And they can't be shooting this because it's going to do either zero damage or just minimize damage. They have to be accurate and aim straight for your head, so that makes it harder for them versus you, especially in this situation. There's not, if they're like out here, you can aim wherever and still get that kill. So use these pieces. Like I know there's a hard point over here on this map, so use this as cover. If you're shooting them right here, then if they're not ready for this gunfight, you're gonna melt them because you're kind of already aiming. If like two people end up like pushing over, if two people end up pushing over and you down one and you're weak, you just lay down. You reload, get a little bit of health. You can peek back up, get a split second just to kind of see like, okay, is he pushing up or is he still pulling back because maybe he got like slightly weak. So using cover is so important, and you use it to your advantage. So as you're moving around the map, instead of like coming out wide right here, try to stick closer to this thing so that technically when they're coming out, they'll have kind of like, they have this cover. So don't come out all the way out here. Use this if you can to your cover as well, So so that's tip number one. As you're moving around the map, use like these cover pieces. Even this right here, if you're not liking this gunfight, you can slide, get behind it, reload, regain health. You use what you can that's around you. And so think about the angles that you take when you're going around the map. Like out here, is different than using this as cover as you're approaching the map. So the more you play, the more you'll get a feel for positions on the map that have cover, and how to use that to your advantage. So that was number one. Tip number one is move cover to cover. And then tip number two is when you're going around corners, especially like I said, if you only have one life, go ahead and aim. So like right here, like aim. So there could be a guy right here. If there is, you shoot. If there isn't, then you check the next spot, which is right here. And then the next spot is like right here. So if someone is running down here and as you come around, you're already aiming, he's dead basically, you know, because by the time it takes for him to ready up his gun, start shooting, you already aimed out sight. So all you have to do is just shoot right away. And so depending on the gun, the attachments and everything, you might even kill him before he gets like a bullet off, you know. And so so as you're coming around the corner, just aim, you know. So tip number one was move cover to cover, and then tip number two is aim when you're coming around. So many times I see people like in Search and Destroy, or like I said, Trials of Osiris, Warzone, they'll just come around and like they don't even like check. They just come around and they're like, oh man, I died. There was like 3 people right there. But if you come around and you're like aiming, like you can kind of like, you can get first shots off and you put yourself in a better situation. Okay, so aim around corners, and aim when you're, you know, like right here. There could be, well, this situation is different. Okay, so the third point I want to talk about is sometimes you actually don't want to aim down sight around the corner, because let's look at this situation right here. Right here you can aim down, right? If there's a guy, yes, no, shoot, whatever. But if you come here, there could be a guy in this door, there could be a guy in this window, out here, coming out from this side and back to this side, you know. So there's so many places where people can be, so you can't, like, if you're aiming down here, there could have been a guy over here, and then, you know, he has like the last video I was talking about centering, he on from his screen there can only be one side that someone comes, which is like, well, here and there, but he's going to be aiming down here. So as soon as he sees you, he shoots at you, versus you're still trying to gather information, like, okay, where are people, and, you know, like, what are they doing? So instead of aiming down sight and there's so much in, like, so many different spots, what you do is you just shoulder peek. So you just put your shoulder out, get information, pull it back in. That way you're not exposing yourself to dying. Maybe you'll get hit like 1 or 2 shots, but you're back, and you're like, okay, there was a guy in the window, okay, there was a guy, you know, at that door. So then you can aim and be like, all right, there was a guy there. So you just shoulder peek, and that kind of like, you're just gathering information. Even like over here, there could be a lot of different places, like they could be all over here, like in over here. So you just kind of like, well, I guess here you can, as you're coming around, you can be like, all right, no one's up here. But around here, you just kind of shoulder peek. And so that kind of put yourself in a good situation for people that, you know, might be like kind of like camping here. There could be, you know, like people here. So you, instead of putting yourself in a bad spot, you gather information, and then from there you can kind of like decide, okay, hey, you know, like I want to engage this fight, or maybe like right now I'm using an SMG, which is not the best at like this long distance. So you're like, all right, I actually don't even want to fight that. That's just a bad spot for me. I'm gonna try to push up through mid and, like, you know, go on the flank. So so that's tip number 3 basically, is that shoulder peek. Like even here, like if you want, you can just always shoulder peek and just, you know, gather information, slide out. All right, I did see a guy over there, and then, because technically here you do have this cover, but right here is a more advantageous like spot, because you're using this as the head glitch. So I was saying, where they can only see a bit of your head. Here they can still shoot your whole body. You know, like you can, like I said, you can still slide back out and stuff. But if, like I said, everything's situational. So right now I have an SMG, and I don't want to do this long range fight, but I gather information with shoulder peeking, slide out, pull closer so that my SMG is more effective, and then take that gunfight. So so yeah, so hopefully this was helpful for you guys. You know, like the more you play, the more you'll kind of figure out spots to kind of like you'll know, like, okay, what are the power positions that have head glitches and cover, and how can I, like, maneuver the map better. But just don't take bad angles. Like, this is a bad gunfight right here. Instead, try to hug this wall, try to hug this, kind of shoulder peek to see if anybody's here, like aim around. So every map is like different, but just try to always remember, use cover and move cover to cover, because if it's a bad gunfight, you can slide back out, get behind cover. If you're right out in the middle of the open and they start shooting you, you're just kind of hoping they miss, or if there's two people, and they're good players, you're gonna die. Maybe you'll get one, but now you're dead and they got the trait, So these are little things that if you're kind of like aware of, you'll just kind of put yourself, in good situations, win more gunfights, stay alive, because if you're dead, you're not helping your teammates. So these are kind of like just tips, and just try to practice that. All right, guys, that's it. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hopefully this was helpful and informative and useful.
Moving here.